Hey, well, it is time for another video. And as you guys have seen, the motor is now back home. So, what I'll be doing this next week, it took off, is I've got my Bolo to Humo adapter. And I'm not sure if any of you guys watched, I think it was Rob Dom's video actually, did this part without clearancing. And it'll knock out the pilot bearing and the input shaft of the transmission. It ruins the T56 Magnum if you forget to do that. But for anyways, today's video, we're not going to talk about all my stuff I have to do. We're going to talk about something that's a little bit more complex. And I figured, since I'm doing suspension stuff, after I clean up all this, I'll kind of go through and explain this stuff to you. So, just get a little comfortable here. Set in my motor, and it's really important to understand when you guys take your cars to shops and stuff. There are people that don't know what they're doing, and they will take advantage of you. They will take your money. I've seen too much in the last couple of years, especially in the last month. I've seen just an absurd amount of real shit quality work, and people that claim to be professionals at their jobs, they're not. You guys might recall Race Factory when they tried charging $5,000 for a tweaked rear NC roll bar that I supplied. That was literally weld two ends together, bolted in, and everything was aligned by me with the right lengths and everything. And then they've got an L bracket for the electric power steer. The electric water pump. And I didn't realize angle iron would be that expensive. It's not. And my point with this video is the people that you guys are having work on your cars are generally not as professional as you think they are. And it's really bothersome to see time and time again, shit is just always done wrong. I have a client right now who just had his car from a shop. They installed a Haltech dash and wideband and all this stuff. They charged way too much to the guy. The dash isn't communicating to the ECU because the CAN bus is wrong. The wideband sensor is not reading properly the ECU because the power to that is wrong. And overall, it's problem after problem on what this guy is dealing with on a very well built motor. And it responds perfect. It's tuning out perfect. There's no mechanical faults besides this last electrical shop. And it's becoming too common. And I'm trying to figure out a way to help you guys identify who can actually walk the walk versus those who just simply talk about it. And I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen beauty shots of the work that I personally do. I'm going to spend some more time doing that as I assemble my car this week, because the craftsmanship that I put into it is different than what you'll see at a shop. I have unlimited time. They have to be quick. They have to be, time efficient. It doesn't matter if they're charging you, let's say this job physically takes 2 hours. Well, their book time might be 4 hours, or their book time might be 30 minutes. It could be either way. And when it comes to the quality of the output of that job, maybe they don't get it right the first time, and they could either leave it like that, or they redo it and they try to charge you more for the same job. So there's a big disconnect in the quality of work versus what I'm seeing people are getting. It's just absurd to me. So The craziest thing, if you guys ever go to like SEMA or PRI or any of these big trade shows or these big car shows and stuff, is you're going to see who put in the effort for the design layout of a vehicle. And that to me is the thing that's always the underlying, like, you could tell it was rushed. And I can remember I can remember a few cars maybe 3 or 4 years back. I'm not going to name any names here, but like shop built, apparently expensive, this and this, and the quality of the layout was incorrect. So, not so much the quality of materials, the materials were all sponsored, high end product. The craftsmanship was pretty good, but you could tell that they didn't understand what the vehicle needed for a layout. So, for instance, you'd have like a turbo put in a certain spot, and the downpipe's now running next to another thing here, and then the air conditioning had to be ripped out because that couldn't line up, or there's no ducting for the V mount, or whatever. A million different things that just didn't lay out, and the engine made to make it accessible to work on. And it just made it look um, like you could have fit more in there if you were smart about how you laid things in. And when you see people rip things out of their car that they probably didn't need to, and now they're regretting lacking a certain feature, it's like, well, if you'd planned ahead, you could have figured that out. But getting back to the shops and this sort of stuff, is these shops are doing repetitive formulaic work that they're used to. And the idea is that if they can do a job that's repeatable, they can make that money easier. So if they're charging $200 an hour, but they've got 5 of them on the shelf because they've modeled it after the first one, they're now making that profit margin back, in a very quick amount of time. So that's generally how things go. The problem is that when it comes to the quality of something that is an outlier for the project, so you bring your own turbo, you bring your own ECU, you bring your own whatever, and it gets them out of that flow, their quality is going to continue to fade. Because now, instead of it being a knock it out, get the project done, it's all handled, you can go get tuned, whatever, you get the situation to where diagnostic is just unreal. Like, oh, so and so built this harness, but yeah, nothing is actually grounded properly, and it's, what the fuck is this? Or there's a million different things that can be specifically brought up. But the point is that the shops and the underlying work, be very cautious about. And even if an Instagram or something looks really, really good, go there in person. Check it out. Don't put any money down. Just maybe talk to their clients, talk to their technicians, see how good they are in communication before you're a client, so that you can see if that's something that you want to work with in a long-term sort of situation. So for me, I've found that, I know for a fact I'm never going to use a certain, I would say, fabricator, a certain whatever dyno shop, a certain alignment place, because of the quality and the work that they're putting out. They are telling people they are at this level of quality and experience, when in reality they have like the most inexperienced technicians or whatever the case may be, and the quality is just fucking shit. And that's horrible. That's a downside of the industry, because there's no check and balance system in place. And if we had that, if someone was ballsy enough to be like, you don't know how to do your fucking job, you're losing this whatever certification, that would be great. But no one does that. So we're kind of stuck dealing with idiocy, and you just have to be very smart about where you're putting your money and where you're putting your time, because you could be the guy who's waiting 3 or 4 years and your car is sitting outside and getting fucking rusted and ruined. Or you can be the guy who's, jeez, there's so many examples. I don't even want to bring them up. But the point is, do your research. Take your time on these decisions. As a tuner, I'm the last guy at the end of this chain of events, and I will pinpoint things so quickly from sensor data. I'll be like, you got fucking 8 vacuum leaks. Like, this ECU can't find top dead center properly. Like, the dumbest things you can imagine. And it's just mind-blowing to me how bad parts of this industry are. So I want you guys to do your part to make sure this doesn't happen to you. I'm sitting here on an engine that I've waited for 3 years because the first balance shop did 2 rotating assemblies. Both were fucked. The first engine builder, who I'd waited very patiently for 18 months, did a single exhaust port and a pineapple single port, and it was ugly as sin. Yeah, that was just real lackluster work on that. And after waiting that long and dealing with the way that they operated, I don't want you guys to get stuck in that. Like, I have recommended people that I work with now because they communicate. And I'm going to say that you don't need to have the best work quality if your communication is good, because people will be more accepting to that, and they'll be more willing to work with you as you're growing and developing. Now, that doesn't mean that my recommended list is not the top tier stuff out there, because it really is. I've done the vetting process for you. I know specifically, like, I can push a specific motor this much on this guy's build and it won't give a fuck. Like, no problem. It's bulletproof. You might have those same hard components in your hand, but when someone else handcrafts that engine, it's way different. Like, how did that big turbo suddenly feel like it was nothing? And then when you assemble it properly, like on a stock port engine, how did a S369 feel like it was just a monster and came on instantly? Like, mind blown, right? But you build things properly, you spec things out properly, and sure enough, it all works out. So, hope this helps. And I show you guys a bunch of stuff coming up for this week. So I'll have a lot of videos coming out. You'll see, I'm probably going to redo this looped brake line right here that I don't like. These are just sitting here with lines, but I'll have all my V-mounted powder coat stuff coming back. I'm going to do a final clearance on the starter setup here. I've got new motor mounts. The whole engine bay is going to be detailed. I'll go through and show you guys an exhaust back pressure sensor, how I'm brought up power and ground, how I laid out all my factory stuff to still fit. The catch can that fits nicely. The catch can drain that will be down here. You can access through the fender liner with a quarter turn valve to drain easily. I'll go over suspension stuff and how clearly people don't understand roll center or whatever the fuck when it comes to lowering the geometry of a McPherson strut car, and how quickly that creates issues on the FC chassis, or in my case, FB with FC front subframe. So I'll go over a bunch of these video details with you guys, and hopefully you get to see what's going on with my build coming together. So it'll be a fun process, and I will keep you guys along for the ride. Cheers. See you guys later.